first speaker of the evening will be our very own principal. He has been incredibly supportive of our class for the past 4 years. Please welcome Dr. Robert McBride.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone here, and I'm so pleased to see so many members of the class of 2015 joining us tonight for this meditation and reflection. I want to begin with some thanks and some acknowledgments of a number of people, because as I often say to this class and others, everyone here, we stand on the shoulders of other people, and we never do it alone. First, I'd like to thank our student musicians. I know you give them a round of applause. I'd like to thank the students up here who have been members of our baccalaureate committee, who are emceeing this, our students who will speak, who will take center stage. And you'll see at graduation, and if you've been to an Eagle Valley graduation, we put students center stage at these events to symbolize literally that we believe that these young people have arrived at a place in their lives where they can run things and that they no longer need us entirely. Right? Entirely. That's an important point. I would like to acknowledge some of my great colleagues up on the stage, Mr. Jack Spolanek, Mrs. Yvonne Faywell, Mrs. Johnson here, Montrine Johnson, who really has pulled this whole thing together, and she'll be very anxious because she's running her first graduation on Sunday, which will be an amazing thing. I'd also like to thank everybody involved in music, Mr. Ryan Remington, Mr. Reed Spears, our tech people in the booth, Dr. Lance Fuhrer, Mr. David Perry back here, everybody who's filming this from Niqua Media as well. And then finally, we have one of our board members here, Dr. Benjamin White. He's joining us. Can we give all of those folks a big, big round of applause? Also, sometimes we have some unsung heroes that I'd like some special applause for. Our Aramark staff. Everything you see is set up by our Aramark staff, and so many things in your hands and that you experienced tonight are set up by our administrative assistants. I really would like to thank them, Ms. Karen Kami especially, so if we could give those people a big round of applause. And then finally, the members of the class house of the class of 2015, I think, that our guidance director, Sandy Schuler, is probably somewhere in the house, Dean, Michelle Perkins, social worker, Beth Packer. We also had our guidance counselors, Val Adams, Chad Allen, and Stephanie Laporta, who helped get these guys here, as well as guidance secretary, Angela Inzera, and then also Dean Secretary Sue Ling. So could you just give them a big round of applause? Baccalaureate. Every time I mention any other public school principal that we have a baccalaureate, they look at me cross-eyed. They talk about church and state and the separation of them, and that is true. Almost everything we do with graduations in the United States is tied back to the Middle Ages and universities that were founded by the church all across Europe, including what our students wear, both on their heads and their gowns. These are traditions that kind of came to us in Western civilization we have kept alive. This is not a baccalaureate of a particular faith. Whether you believe in Christ, Muhammad, peace be unto him, the God of Israel, Vishnu, Krishna, the Buddha, all of those things have space and place in your lives. Here, just to preface my remarks, we're here to talk about the faith that it takes to be part of the educational process, because it's such a similar experience. You come to a place, you come to a classroom, you have a preacher, or you have an imam who teaches you, a rabbi, who says, please do these things, students. Please try these things, and your life will be better. And it takes a lot of faith to believe in us that we're doing the right thing by you. So we're here to celebrate the faith that it took them and it took us to believe in them to get them to this point and to the next stage in their lives and the next stage and the next stage. So it's about the faith that education teaches us. When I was asked to speak at this event, the class gave me the theme of acceptance. So if you'd permit me a few minutes, both to speak and to do on the concept of acceptance. And oftentimes, at first blush, acceptance seems to be a rather meek word. I accept. A lot of times we use acceptance when we really mean we don't accept. I accept it. I'm going to do it. Whatever. Acceptance sometimes is a weak word, but I think it's a mighty word, and I hope to illustrate for you, the graduates, why it's a mighty word, and maybe redefine it a little bit through a narrative from my own life. So I have 3 stories for you that really, to me, in my own life, it illustrates acceptance. 1989, or actually 88, apologize. I graduated from college, Northwestern University, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and my girlfriend bought me this watch, this exact watch. This is what my girlfriend gave me. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I expected. If anything, I had in my mind, you know, this big honking man watch, big masculine thing, and I got this very elegant, simple, thin, black watch. And after I got over the lack of acceptance, and I really started thinking about it and really meditating, there was something that I realized, not only about this gift, but about the woman who gave it to me, that actually, I don't need myself in life if I'm going to have a partner in life. I need someone who would give something to me, that would bring something to me that I didn't have, that would teach me new expectations. This watch was not what I expected. This watch is actually what I needed. And 6 weeks later, I asked that girlfriend to be my wife. And how lucky was I that she's been married to me for 26 years. So the first lesson, acceptance, it's about taking not yourself, but something else, and taking it fully and wholly, and accepting it into your life, bringing it into your heart, and letting it sit there and change you. Because I know I am changed for the good because Katie McBride's married to me. I don't know if she would say the same. You could ask her. Story number 2 about acceptance, the second definition. You know, years on into that marriage, just like a lot of folks, my wife and I said, hey, let's have a family. And we had no idea when we were that young that we were starting the most difficult, fraught, challenging, defeating journey of our lives. And it didn't work out. It didn't work out. And like most sane people, when you get to a point with a challenge where you say this is not working out, we did what most sane, rational people would do. We ran away. We literally sold our house. We left our jobs. We were so upset and disappointed. We moved to Scotland. It was great. We had the time of our lives. And we came back and we said, you know what? We are going to be the best aunt and uncle ever to our nephews and nieces. That'll be our lot in life. We'll be the greatest aunts and uncles you ever saw. Until one day, I heard a voice, and it was clear as bell, and it said, your daughter is in China. And there was no reason to hear that voice. Your daughter is in China. And how lucky were we that we accepted that voice, and we followed that voice. In 2002, we adopted our sweet daughter, Sophie. 2 years later, we adopted our sweet daughter, Annie, and now we're the proud parents of these Chinese women. An amazing thing. Had we not listened to that voice, we wouldn't be a family. And it was in that moment that we found the poem. The poem that's in your program. It's an Irish poem by a great poet that I'd recommend named John O'Donohue. And it's a stanza from that poem, and we say it in our family as a blessing. Because there's something that McBrides understand, that for us as a couple who are looking for children, for our children who are infants and their parents could not take care of them, we had to accept that others were really in control of our destiny. We had to accept that we had to go find those children. Our children, when they were infants in a welfare institute, had to live and thrive on the kindness of other people and the kindness of their Chinese parents to get them someplace safe, although they could not take care of them. So we say this stanza in the McBride household because we know that so much is given. That the nourishment, the next meal that you have, it comes from somebody else's hands. That the clarity we have in our life, it comes from the light. That without that, outside of us, we have no clarity. We know that a lot like the ocean and the moon pulls on the earth and causes the waves, we know that people orbit into our lives, pull on us, they create a rhythm and a fluidity in our lives. We also know that we owe a lot to our ancestors, to our parents and their parents and their parents' parents and their parents' parents and their parents' parents' parents. Somewhere out there behind all of us is somebody who knew they would never live to see their kids, but hoped our lives would be just a little bit better than theirs. So we owe a lot to those ancestors. Lesson number 2, sometimes you have to follow that voice and you have to accept things from outside of you. Lesson number 3, I was lucky enough in my journeys to do a Fulbright Memorial Fund experience in Japan. It was great. It was tough at first. We had to go out to San Francisco, do 3 days of etiquette training. A lot of taking your shoes off at the appropriate time, a lot of bowing. When I first got to Japan, I was on the smallest island, Shikoku, and I was working in a city named Imabari. I'm telling you, as an American, I found the bowing very challenging and very difficult and frankly, very annoying. Do I bow? Do you bow? Do we both bow? Do we shake hands? Do we, how do you avoid hitting the other person's head? Is it the head bow time? Is it the deep bow? It was very complex. It was very tedious too. And when we did the etiquette training, we kind of got, good training about the head bob. We got training from bowing from the waist. That's a really formal training. And then we were also showed a very, very deep, solemn bow that's rarely done, only in ceremonies. And I remembered that, and I kind of went on my way. Week into being in Japan, I was at Imabari Kita High School, and I remembered that deep bow. And the principal of the school opened the school up with kind of a simulation of the tea ceremony. And he brought together different students and different faculty members, and he went to each one of those individuals. And not only did he give them tea and he gave them something to eat, but in front of the whole school, he got down on the ground, the dirtiest, lowest place in Japanese culture. And he did the great bow. Bent over, forehead on the ground to each of those people. And then bowing made sense to me. That what it's about is an acknowledgement, an acceptance that just like the people here, this school cannot run without these beautiful parents who raised these children, without these children who beautified this school. And that principal was saying to those teachers and those students, I accept how important you are to Imabari Kita High School. And every time I bowed in my whole time in Japan, I was saying to whatever human being I met, I accept how important you are to me, even if I don't know you. That was lesson number 3. So, I have something to say to you, I have something to bless you, and I have something to do. And I'm going to do it. The first thing I want to say to you is that I do hope wherever you guys go in life, that you find that moment where you can take someone or something into your heart and fully accept them. But more than that, accept them by letting them change you. That's first. The second thing is that I want to lay my hands over you and I want to bless you in the same way that I bless my children. Just by saying to you that may the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluidity of the ocean be yours. And may the protection of your ancestors be yours. And then I have something to do. Thank you.